Hi, this is Dave Bartoszewicz. Have you experienced Jesus? You know, this is going to be a really a show of shows. I'm very interested in showing this to the public, to the world, and have them think, could there have been a possibility that Joseph Smith, now we know that the LDS Church recently came out with, and they're changing their manuals as well to allow people to know that Joseph Smith used a seer stone to translate supposedly the Book of Mormon, the golden plates, with a seer stone, putting his face in a hat and conjuring up words, and there was light. We know that because Emma Smith said it, Oliver Cowdery said it, David Whitmer said it, as well as Martin Harris. They're all scribes. So when Joseph Smith actually saw these words from the seer stone, and I'm showing it right now, that he would ask the scribes, those who would be writing, he would say, is it written? And they said yes. And then more words would come from the seer stone. The question I have is this: was Joseph Smith more of a medium, a spiritualist in a sense, being able to have this divine source, if it was of the underground world of spirits or whatever, giving him this information, or was it really of God? So I want to actually meet with the owner here. I'm at Bryson's Rock Shop here, and I'm going to ask him these questions. Should be a great show. I'm sure you're going to be interested to see what's going on. Thanks for watching. Especially with all the new things that have come up recently about the LDS Church stating that Joseph Smith did use a seer stone that he put in a hat, and he actually saw words within the seer stone that he used, and right now I'm showing that to you so you could see the seer stone he used. I've decided actually to come to meet with Dave, who's actually the owner of Bryson's Rock Shop here in Ogden, Utah. So if anybody who is interested in wanting to visit Dave, you can come up to 326 Washington Boulevard and actually see his location. It's a mass with many rocks, many different forms of rocks. But I thought it would be interesting to interview him, to ask him questions about why Joseph Smith used a seer stone, and if stones can actually bring in sort of spiritual, divine inspiration that might lead people to come up with inspiration from the underground, the spirit world, or whatever it may be. But I wanted to ask Dave. So Dave, thanks so much for allowing us to come here. And as you can see, we have stones here. You can see there's stones, there's egg-like shaped stones, and Dave knows a lot about stones. So the question I have to ask you, Dave, is do you believe that stones have the ability, especially if somebody is like a medium, to use to bring divine information right from the underworld?
Yes, I do believe that.
Could you explain? You have a lot of knowledge about things.
Well, I believe it's just all vibrational. Everything's just made of atoms, and so basically we're all made up of just, virtually nothing. So it's all a really magical world anyway, so I just believe that we're picking up on the vibrations of the stones on a molecular level. So
do you believe that there are spirits that can actually, give insight, information to, let's say, a person who's using a stone?
Sure, I believe there's other dimensions, and that you could tap into the dimensions using stones.
Okay.
So I believe that, I believe that's a possible,
What kind of stones do you think that you know of, that you have had experience with, that people do use in regards to bringing up the divine, maybe using a stone to help get more insight of the underworld?
Well, quartz would be the first thing that comes to mind. Obsidian's another one.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the quartz can be used to do anything.
Okay.
So I mean, it's programmable.
I see.
It's just like a computer. So you can program your thoughts into the quartz crystal, and then if you have divine love in mind, it'll give back whatever it is that you're asking.
Okay. So you live here. You're not LDS, right? You're not Mormon.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So you've heard the story about Joseph Smith, who actually put a seer stone into his hat. What are your feelings regarding that? Do you think he receive some sort of inspiration to do the Book of Mormon from a stone?
Well, I just think everything's connected, and he was just able to connect using it.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the connection thing, and he just found a way to connect.
Okay. All right, good. And so do you think that you're saying that it's possible he could have been a medium in a sense?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. That's what I would, that's what I would feel, yes.
You would think that that's an insight that maybe a lot of people who might never have thought about this could have, now think.
Everybody has these abilities. It's just they're not really, they're taken away from them early on, and they don't really, they don't really feed it. So, I think everybody really can connect.
You're saying a lot of people have that maybe ability, the power to go.
Yeah, if they just believed in it, if they believed in themselves, yeah, absolutely.
I had the actual experience. I was in Sedona, and Sedona is a big place with energies, vortex, and all that stuff. And I did go to a rock place, and the person did share with me that there are rocks that you could work and have a tool in the sense of going deeper into this sort of channeling a medium experience with the underground. And she actually opened up a book and showed me that this particular rock that we were using and looking at did in fact do that for people, that you could have this channeling. So I was really, really surprised when I found that, and that's why I wanted to come to you and sort of validate it and saying if it's possible.
I believe absolutely, yes. I mean, I haven't had that experience, but yes, I believe it to be so.
All right. Well, you heard it right here, and we're going to show people around a little bit. We're going to show the store and show what Dave has here. So if anybody is interested in wanting to stop by and pick up some rocks and maybe try it for yourself. All right, as you can see, I'm here in Ogden. I just visited with David at Bryson's Rock Shop, but I wanted to show you a little glimpse of this Ogden Temple. And you can see behind me, there's the Ogden Temple. It's really kind of interesting because with mediums and with spiritualists, they actually work with who? They work with the dead. Now, if you're looking at Mormonism, one of the things that they actually do, they work in this temple mostly baptizing people, spirits who have died, right? And they believe by doing these rituals of baptisms, as well as marriages of people who have died, that they can go to heaven. So in essence, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. The Mormon temple is doing work for the dead. It's really interesting. I just wanted to give you that understanding. Now, another thing I wanted to give you some insight on that I've learned just recently by actually Mike, who's from Kansas City. Mike, thanks for this insight. I'm doing something that I want to bring some awareness to. I don't know if you ever heard of this individual named Johannes Greber. Now, Johannes Greber was an ex-Catholic priest, and he left Catholicism, and actually he became a writer, but he worked with spiritual matters, and he created a book called Communication with the Spirit World. Let me give this to you right now. That's his cover. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about this individual is he also worked with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they believe that he had the ability to translate the New World Translation, which part of his translation that he received from the spirit world was actually given to Jehovah's Witnesses on their Bible that they use, the New World Translation. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about within this, he mentioned quite a few things. He mentioned how he was able to receive this translation. And in this translation, what he declared was this. He said that he received the translation, and how it was done of the New Testament. He says prayers that were answered and discrepancies clarified to him by God's spirit world. At times he was given the correct answers in large illuminated letters and words passing before his eyes. Now, that gives you a pretty good understanding, right there. Do you see a similarity and a relationship with Joseph Smith? Because Joseph Smith actually believed what? The people that were with Joseph Smith, they said that he was able to look into the stone, right? And large illuminated letters and words were passing before his eyes. The same way that Johannes Greber received the same thing. Now, I want to make sure that to be fair with the Jehovah's Witnesses, in 1978, 79, they realized what Johannes was doing, and they ended their relationship with him. They ended many things because they realized that what he was doing was wrong, and so they stopped using most of his translation. However, they still have in their translation, in the New World Translation, one of his things that he actually received, and it was in John 1:1, and it stated, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. So they still use that. That was part of his translation. Now, I want to give you a little insight of Joseph Smith's translation, because Joseph Smith also, he translated, right, the Bible and the New Testament. John 1:1 is a very interesting thing for Christians because it clearly shows us that Jesus is our God, right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is Joseph Smith's translation. That's Joseph Smith's translation in John 1:1. He says, in the beginning was the gospel preached through the Son, and the gospel was the Word, and the Word was with the Son, and the Son was with God, and the Son was of God. Basically, what he was trying to do was to minimize, right, Jesus, diminish him as being God. So we have to ask ourselves, this is how Joseph Smith received, right, through a seer stone, and he would use this power. You have to question yourself, was Joseph Smith really of God doing this? Because we now know, right, with Papyrus 66, we have archaeological evidence now to prove John 1:1 is valid. It's Papyrus 66, look it up. It was actually found in 200 AD, and it's exactly the exact same John 1:1 that's in our Bible today, right? We know that, but Joseph Smith changed it. So we have to ask ourselves, why would he do this? This is an interesting idea. Now, I want to bring this idea up because I really believe it's very important for you as a viewer to understand. Was Joseph Smith, all that he received, we know the book of Abraham, right, that he said that was translated correctly, that he used, his ability to translate the book of Abraham, that after we saw that what he saw, these images, and he said he translated these Egyptian images, that after the fact it was not what he translated correctly. It was different of what he actually stated that it was, because now many years later we have Egyptian translators to know what the truth is, and it has nothing to do with the book of Abraham. You got to test that out yourself. So one of the things I do want to share with you is Leviticus 19:31 states this. God reveals something because it's really important for us, right, as believers, not to be swayed. We have to test the spirits all the time. But God says this. He says, do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. That's and he says it many, many times throughout the Old Testament. We're not supposed to be a part of mediums or spiritualists. You will be defiled by them. I always wondered, You know, there are many Mormons who claim that they've received this spiritual awakening by praying about this Book of Mormon. If, I just want to put it in your brains and in your thoughts, if Joseph Smith actually was used as a medium to bring forth this Book of Mormon, and I'm not saying that every single thing that he did, that he wrote in the Book of Mormon, was of the underground, right? Was of another source. Because I do know, and there's a lot of historical people who are part of, you know, understanding the Mormon faith, who really know that he also used similar relationships within his own period of time, and they see a lot of relationships with that in the Book of Mormon. But the question that I have to arise is this: if you believe that Joseph Smith really was a medium and he came up with the Book of Mormon by another power, God says that we can be defiled by this familiar spirit. So the question you have to think, are all those people who believe that this Book of Mormon is true, you got to say, is it of God or is it of another spirit working with them? That's a key thing to think about. Test it yourself. See if what I'm saying is wrong. And if I'm declaring something that's not right, you know, I will say and stand out here, I'm wrong. But I think it's important to think about what I'm saying. I really do. Because it's important for your eternity and who you serve. Now, I just want to let you know, we've been doing these shows, this rock show. Now, I know and I stand on the rock of my salvation, which is Jesus Christ. He is the rock, and I hope and pray that if this is something that you have received and God has revealed that maybe Joseph Smith was not a prophet in the way that you think he was, but he could have conjured this stuff up from another source, we are here for you as Christians. We love you. We know that you are in a position that maybe you've been duped. You know, you have to question that yourself and ask that. But we are here as a Christian body. We love Mormons. We really want you to stand on the rock of Jesus Christ, who loves you. He is your stone. He is the one who is the cornerstone of your faith and our faith. And we love him so much. And I just want to declare that to you, that I did this show for a reason, to let you know that Jesus is the answer. Instead of having a golden angel up there, instead of going to a temple made with hands, instead of going to a temple that is actually baptizing people for the dead, go with Jesus. That he is the one that will change your life. I know that because he has changed my life. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. God bless you, and I hope you enjoyed the show.